Hello, my name is Dr. Tyler Molstry from True Life Chiropractic. I want to spend a few moments discussing New Year's resolutions with you. Now, of course, this is the time of year for people to start setting their New Year's goals, but there are a lot of myths out there, a lot of misunderstanding, and so I'd like to walk through a few of them. First of all, if you don't have your New Year's resolution written down, then you have to do that. That is step one. Not only should you have your goal written down or your New Year's resolution written down, but you need to have action steps, very specific action steps, and you need to have a deadline for those. If you don't know what actions to take in order to reach that goal, and if you don't have a deadline to do it in, then the likelihood of you achieving that New Year's resolution or that goal is not very good. Now, of course, the most common New Year's resolution is to lose weight and to get fit. So people do one or two things, or both. They change their nutrition plans and they begin exercising. Now, of course, what most people call a nutrition plan is a diet. And the root word for a diet is die. Now, that's not coincidental, because what you're actually doing when you diet is that you're training your body to starve. Most people will reduce the number of calories that they consume and the number of meals. And what happens is that you train your stomach, if it's normally this big, okay, you train your stomach to shrink down. Now, what that stomach thinks is that there is a famine or there is a shortage of food outside, and it's not guaranteed another meal. So what it does is it wants to maximize the amount of energy it has so your body can live longer in a situation of a famine or a food shortage. So when it's shrunk down, it uses the minimal amount of calories necessary to keep you alive, and it takes everything else and stores it as fat, which is, of course, counterintuitive to what your ultimate goal is, which is to lose fat. So you have to understand what you're doing. The proper way to do this is to increase the number of meals that you have in a day, but decrease on the quantity each meal is, or the size of each meal. Now, the other problem is exercise. Most people jump on a treadmill or a bike or an elliptical machine, something like that, to build up their cardiovascular endurance, which is fantastic. However, if your goal is to lose weight, that may not be the most efficient way. There's resistance training, there's a combination of resistance training and the cardio. There are lots of options, but doing cardio alone is not going to be your best bet. But of course, it does depend on your body type and your goals, as well as your level of health. So you should talk to someone who understands what your goals are and how to properly and most efficiently lose that weight or get and achieve your ideal body image. So we've talked about diets and we've talked about exercise. What you have to understand, even before you do those two things, is the function of your body. Now, as a chiropractor, my specialty is, of course, your spine and nervous system. So what I'm holding here is a spine. Now, what you have to understand is that your brain is your computer. It's your master control center. It's what tells every cell, every tissue, every organ, every muscle how to work. So your brain creates that information, sends it through the spinal cord, then out through each of these nerves to all the body parts and every cell, tissue, and organ. Now, of course, if I take a nerve and I choke it, that's a bad thing. And whatever's on the receiving end of that nerve doesn't function properly because it doesn't get the information. It's much like you talking on your cell phone and having a dropped call. If that information isn't sent, then you don't know what to do. So let's say your stomach, which of course your stomach is controlled by your nerves, this nerve is what tells your stomach how to function, how to digest food. So if I choke that nerve and your stomach doesn't receive all the information it needs to digest the food, guess what? One of two things is going to happen. Either it's going to push that food right through without digesting the nutrients and valuable ingredients in the food that you're eating, which means that your body's have to consume more food to get the nutrients it needs on a daily basis, or it's going to store the food and utilize the nutrients incorrectly. It might store it as fat, or it might deposit it elsewhere in your body. So your stomach, being controlled by your nerves, needs to be functioning 100% in order for you to achieve your New Year's resolution goals. So have your chiropractor check your nervous system to see if indeed your nutrition plan is going to be most effective for you so that you can achieve those goals in a short period of time. Now, likewise, when you start an exercise program, these nerves will tell your muscles how to work efficiently. And if your muscles aren't working efficiently, guess what? You can't burn those calories the way that you'd like to. So again, have your nervous system checked by your chiropractor to make sure that exercise program is going to be most efficient so you can achieve those goals in as short a time as possible. Now, you might be wondering, how do these nerves get choked? Well, it's actually quite simple. What happens, and it doesn't take much for these bones to shift and to misalign. In fact, a tiny little amount causes a significant amount of damage to those nerves. And that shifting can come from trauma, motor vehicle accidents, sporting injuries, slips and falls. But it can also come from things like having poor posture. It can come from eating unhealthy food, things that have lots of chemicals in them. It can come from the air that you breathe. It can come from the water that you drink, from the medicines that you take. It can come from having a lot of stress in your life and not being able to deal with that properly. It comes from exercising improperly and not having a proper attitude. There are lots and lots of causes of stress to your spine and nervous system. And the only way to get that corrected is through chiropractic. We're the only doctors trained on how to find these nerves that are damaged and then to correct those. So again, if you have New Year's resolutions, and in the past if you have had resolutions and you've not had success in meeting those, perhaps it's time that you have your chiropractor check to see if you have some nerve system interference. If so, they can get you on the right track so you can achieve those goals and you can have the body image that you've always desired. And more importantly, your body functions properly, which means you live longer, healthier, and a happier life. Again, this is Dr. Tyler Moultrie from True Life Chiropractic. If you have questions for me specifically, please call me at 515-225-2266 or check us out on our website, www.truelifewellness.com. Thank you very much. I hope this was helpful.